Hello, I'm Tara Brabazon. I'm the Dean of Graduate Research at Flinders University, and it's my pleasure in this video to talk about and with our PhD students at Flinders about your PhD and Research Masters examination process. But because this is a specialist topic, I've got a specialist person with me, and some of you of course already know the wonderful Natalie Hills incredibly well. Nat is a brilliant, extraordinary professional staff member at this university. She's also highly credentialed. She has a Bachelor of Environmental Management from this university, and also, and I was thrilled by this, a Masters of International and Community Development from Deakin. So that is a remarkable and very unusual combination of qualifications, which shows again the breadth and depth of your intellectual ability. So let's use Nat's expertise and help our wonderful students out there understand the examination process at Flinders. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, Tara.
You are fabulous. So let's get into this. So Nat, let's just start with a really basic procedural issue, right? So a student finishes their PhD, finishes their Research Master's degree, and their supervisor has selected examiners, and that's terrific. So what then happens next? What do the students do? So they've finished, the supervisors have examiners. What happens to the students at that point?
Yeah. Normally, a supervisor will submit their nomination of examiners about 3 months before the student is due to submit.
Right.
So the student actually still has a little bit of time to finalise their thesis, use a professional editor if they wish,
right,
and put their thesis through Turnitin.
Brilliant advice.
And also get some additional advice from their supervisors.
Yes.
Once they're happy, they can submit their thesis in a simple PDF format.
Oh, that's superb. And so they would be submitting that to you?
To me. Submit the PDF to me.
And then magic happens from that point. So then Nat, I'd imagine, then takes that PDF document and sends it out to the examiners and has a transparent, clear and quite private, confidential relationship with those examiners. Is that right?
Absolutely, yes.
And that's fascinating for us because Nat is so brilliant and so loquacious and so wonderful that really you are a great brand ambassador for this university, and that's indeed how we're treating this post, that you are very much dealing with those examiners as outstanding international colleagues, and you and our wonderful students and supervisors are representing this university. So that's really powerful, Nat. Now, you've talked about the PDF and the digital documents. For our students out there who are used to printing out the thesis and sending that somewhere, what's the advantage of a digital document going out to examiners, and indeed the digital reports coming back?
First and foremost is the speed and efficiency of a PDF and digital submission. We are very well aware that you as students have spent and committed 3 years of your life to this PhD or Masters by Research.
Yes.
So we want to ensure that this anxious time for you is dealt with professionally, with integrity and with speed to get you to the next step of your life as soon as possible.
And also it's not dealing with the redundancy or the problems of postal services and the complexity of putting it in a bag, getting it to a courier, sending it there, sending it back, with all that complexity as well.
Yes.
Do you think it's also more secure? Because we often talk about the security issue. So, you're putting a thesis in a bag and hoping for the best, really, to be honest with you. Is there a security benefit or disadvantage in the digital document?
We believe it's absolutely more secure in the digital document. There's different strategies that we can use to ensure that the thesis is safe, such as encryption.
Yeah.
We've had difficult cases where theses may have been lost in the post, which is beyond the control of the university.
Yes.
But now we have a lot more control over the thesis and getting it to the examiner and getting it back to us.
And it's good use of digitisation. I think there's lots of very poor uses of digitisation in universities. I think this is actually quite a good one. Now, the great news is we've got a fantastic grade schedule for students. So we've added an extra grade into the examination protocol, which gives examiners greater precision, which is very important to me, so examiners can be really precise and clear in what they want to express. But also it adds a lot of clarity to supervisors and students. So should we go through what grades a student can achieve from a PhD? Can we go through that?
Absolutely, sure.
So where should we start?
Well, the first thing to know is that there are 2 examiners.
Yep.
So that means you'll be given 2 grades, one from each examiner.
Boom.
Each examiner can give you a grade with a range from A to F.
Right.
An A means that your thesis will be returned and you've passed.
Should we do a little happy dance? So it's a happy dance.
Yes.
So the A is the happy dance.
Yep.
Woo, woo,
No
woo.
corrections, straight through. Brilliant job.
Right, and there's a B therefore.
B is a great result. A B is you have passed your thesis, but you've just got some minor changes to make to it.
So that could be, for example, if an examiner finds typographical issues, it could almost go up to you missing a particular scholar they wanted or a piece of literature, and maybe sort of there's a few pages or half a chapter that's a concern. The minor corrections, there is a continuum there, isn't there? It could be 3 typographical errors to half a chapter's a bit dodgy. So that's
Yep.
the minor, that's the B, and they're quite quick to fix, aren't they, Nat?
Yes. Yep.
Wicked.
You could be finished potentially within a week or two.
Terrific. So that's a B. What happens at a C? We've got major. Is that right?
We've got major corrections. You can still pass your thesis, but you've got some more corrections to make.
Yeah, and again, it's on that continuum because, examiners, they have incredible autonomy in the doctoral process. So a major correction could be, like we talked about in the previous one, for a different examiner, could be half a chapter. It could be they found an issue with a method that they want addressed, or a few tables are a bit challenging, or an interpretation. But it's still a major correction, and they're made to the satisfaction of the student and the supervisor, aren't they? The majors don't go back to the examiner, do they?
They don't. The supervisor needs to approve the changes, and the Associate Dean of Research in the new colleges.
That's fantastic. So again, all of that's quite quickly done. So an A, a B and a C, fantastic result, handled within the new college system, and we're winning. It's an incredible result. Congratulations. So we'll now move down to ABC. So if I'm doing my alphabet correctly, we're moving down to D. So what's a D?
A D means that you still have the opportunity to pass your thesis, but you need to re-enroll and revise your thesis and then resubmit it again.
Right, so again, that's probably a more major issue, isn't it? So there might be a data collection issue or something that's not resolvable in a shorter period of time, and the examiner does want to see it again to confirm that those changes have been made. It's still not a problem at all. They're giving you an opportunity to address those matters and send it back to the examiner, and in most cases that ends up absolutely fine, doesn't it, Nat?
Absolutely.
So that's great. So we've got to D. As I go down, E.
E is rare. We really don't see that very often. And an E means a PhD can be downgraded to a master's.
And so they are rare. I've probably seen in my entire career 4 of them, and none at Flinders at this point, so a fair few, my lot at Murdoch University. Often it involves the original contribution to knowledge, to be honest with you. If an examiner is not seeing an original contribution to knowledge but is seeing synthesis, and synthesis is great, but if they're seeing synthesis and not that originality, they'll hammer it down to a master's. But again, incredibly rare, and I've certainly yet to see one at Flinders. So that's the E, and I think we're tumbling to an F, and I'm imagining what an F is.
An F is that you haven't passed your thesis and you won't have the opportunity to resubmit it. I've never seen that.
Yes, I have, but again, as Nat's brilliantly said at the start, we have 2 examiners, so if one gives you an F and another one doesn't, there's all sorts of how we handle the disparate or the different results too. So if you've got one F, the carnival is not over. All sorts of different outcomes can occur from there. And do you want to talk a little bit about, just at this point for our students, we'll talk about it more to our supervisors, but if you do get different grades, Nat, so say you get an A and a C or a B and a D, just in generalities, what does happen so the students get an idea about what occurs?
Yeah, sure. So if there are significantly divergent or different results, what then happens is the University Research High Degrees Committee will review those results, and they will then make a decision on the outcome. And if need be, a 3rd examiner can be brought in to give an additional expert opinion about what that grade could be.
And that's terrific. So that University Research Higher Degrees Committee has experts from every single college, we're assuming, when the college structure comes in. So that's great because you've got the expert in that particular field, but also a diversity of eyes to look at that and offer interpretation. So it's a tremendous experience, I think. And also, as you rightly said, say a worst case scenario happens, which I have seen, an A and an F. I have seen that. Then you bring in a third examiner to work out what exactly is going on, because no committee should have to make a determination from an A and an F. Bring in a third examiner who may give a C or a B, and then you probably know what's going on.
I think it's important to note as well, Tara, that in certain cases students do actually have an opportunity to appeal their results.
That's superb. So we've actually enfolded the examination into an appeal protocol. So it's not like you get those results and the carnival is over for you. You have a whole series of appeal mechanisms in place, and all your supervisors and the Office of Graduate Research will enable those decision-making issues for you. And last question, if I can, Nat, and isn't she spectacular? Last question for Nat. What advantage, because you've gone through and we've worked through these regulations, you've done an amazing job. As someone who's been so closely dealing with every single line, what's the advantage or advantages that you find in the system that exists at Flinders?
Yeah, there's a few advantages. First of all, we are now going to be respecting the integrity and the expertise of the examiners a lot more.
Yeah.
The process is going to be much more efficient and speedy for the students.
Lovely.
The university will also be taking part, having a say in the results.
Exactly, and it's all very transparent and accountable,
Absolutely.
I think, which is what you've always said to me is the key to this. And it's very important to me and very important to Nat, and you've heard her, it was her first answer there, that we respect the integrity of the examiners. Because the PhD is one of the few very special places left in higher education where two individuals get to look at a piece of work and make a determination without moderation, to be frank, without a marking rubric. So it is important that we respect this very special examination that exists for Masters and PhD students. So Nat, thank you for that. That was so clear for our students. Just a quick introduction for you and a whole series of one-page PDFs will emerge that give you checklists about how you move through the process and how you engage and enjoy the examination process for a PhD. So Nat, thank you, my love.
Thank you.